So thank you all for starting Dreamforce off with our session. We're really proud that you made a beeline to come down here. I know they just opened the doors. A couple of seats down front if people want to come and join us. There will be a session following this, so we'll try to finish up close to on time, but we've got a lot of content to get through. My name is Dan Harrison. I'm the Emerging Technology Architect at Salesforce, and I cover blockchain, big objects, and Einstein platform like vision and language. So I have a really cool job at Salesforce, but what I'm here to talk to you this morning about is blockchain. And blockchain is a definition of an emerging technology, and it's changing really fast. So I know you're going to see this slide a lot this week, so I'm proud to be the one who shows it to you first, but it's probably the most relevant time you're going to see it. There is a lot changing in blockchain by its technology itself, as well as what Salesforce is doing. So please make any purchasing decisions based on what we have available today. The most important thing to get started with is what we're going to be talking about and what it means in our presentation when we say blockchain. We're going to be talking about it as a secure way to store information in a distributed environment, encrypted, in a way that we're going to go through in a lot more detail through the presentation. We're not going to be spending much time on cryptocurrency. So just to make everybody's level set everybody, we're not going to tell you when to buy Bitcoin and Ether. With me on stage here, I have my esteemed co-presenter, Ganeshram Ramamurthy from Object Frontier Software. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm a technical architect with Object Frontier. We've been in the business of building custom software for more than 20 years. With a global footprint of 900 people, we are building innovative digital engineering solutions for our customers. We established strong thought leadership in the blockchain space. And through our partnership with Salesforce, we are making blockchain easy for companies of all size. Let's move on to the agenda today, Dan.
Sounds good. So we're going to start this off to kind of level set. Some of you are here from an introduction perspective. Some of you have probably already started playing with blockchain. So we're going to define what blockchain is and try to get everybody on an equal playing field.
And we will use that opportunity to set the cryptocurrencies aside and truly understand blockchain through the business value it offers. In India, there is a saying, a picture of vegetable on the paper is not useful to cook with, right? So we will end this presentation with a demo using Hyperledger and Ethereum blockchain behind the scenes in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Wonderful. And then we'll wrap that up with a demo. Obviously, if we want to get cooking, we want to move right into a real demo. So we're going to show you multiple blockchains connected into a Salesforce environment. And that demo will take us to the actions on how you can do it yourself. That's going to be the real takeaway from here is what are your next steps so you can get more hands-on with the blockchain. The hardest part about blockchain that I find right now is we don't have a really great way of explaining what it is. So if we talk about it as a distributed database that's encrypted, it sounds like something we've all played with before. We've all had access to distributed database, very secure and very encrypted ways. But it's more than that. When we talk about distributed, we're talking about it from a business perspective as well. And that's really the fundamental difference in my perspective, is when we look at blockchain, we're talking about not just the technology being distributed, but the ability for consensus to be distributed. And that really is a game changer for what is happening in our industry on why businesses are jumping into this so quickly. It's still a little hard for people to wrap their head around conceptually, but if you start thinking of distribution and the agreement coming from the blockchain's perspective is a business distribution. There's a consensus that has to happen. And that's a really key point.
Yeah, and that distribution enables blockchain to act as an engine of trust. But the goodness of the blockchain doesn't just stop there. The data in the blockchain is secured through encryption. It is transparent for anyone with the right authorization to see. And the data recorded is immutable.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody here really gets encryption and distribution, transparency, are all really things we can wrap our head around. But why is the term immutability come up so often when we talk about blockchain?
Well, immutability is just a fancy way of saying the data, once written to the blockchain, cannot be changed. You can think of blockchain as a stack of Lego bricks built one on each other. One is connected to the other, right? Like this, in a blockchain, every block is closely or tightly coupled to the previous block through the hash. You cannot just like that go and rip one block from the center of the Lego, right? So even if you do it, it will be very visible and and it'll be very easy for anyone to know that something changed. And similarly, in a blockchain, when you go ahead and make changes to the transaction that's already recorded, that's already happened, the hashes change, leading to it'll be very easy for you to identify that something changed, and maybe there will be a breakage in the chain, etc. Right? So this really enables blockchain to act as an immutable chain of custody. So the power is in the hash and how the blockchain is put together.
So I love that analogy. I love Lego. And as you stack it up, it just makes it impossible to change anything you built without tearing down your structure. So why do we have this concept of Bitcoin? Everybody talks about blockchain and Bitcoin. Do you have a good analogy for me around why Bitcoin and blockchain come up in the same sentence all the time?
Sure. No, the first and foremost thing to understand is Bitcoin is enabled by the blockchain architecture. Blockchain is the architecture behind Bitcoin. So you can think of blockchain like electricity. In the early days of electricity, it was just a novelty, but the invention of the light bulb really made people to understand the true potential of electricity. And today, we know electricity has applications in many domains and in various forms. Like that, blockchain or the cryptocurrencies brought the true potential of the blockchain outside, and now we are able to understand the architecture through the use case of cryptocurrencies. And people are already starting to adopt blockchain in different domains and use cases.
Wonderful. So if blockchain is the new electricity, why are we at the hype of the curve, Gardner curve?
No, that's a challenge with any new technology, right? Once the new technology comes out, there is going to be a lot of hype around it. And if the expectation doesn't meet the hype, it is going to fall into the unfortunate trough of disillusionment. I mean, it's a challenge, especially for the blockchain, because of the sheer hype that is created due to the cryptocurrency links.
Okay, so we know there's a lot of hype. We're here because there is a lot of hype, and we're sharing our message because of the hype. But I want to assure you that our customers are using blockchain today. Many of them, probably most of them, are in a solid POC stage right now. Some are still investigating, but we have some real customers delivering solutions on the blockchain today. These might be in limited pilots. Some of them are fully rolled out, and some of them you will see today discussed on some of the stages. So we encourage you to look out for those. But it's not just something to play with. There is definitely a bigger push behind what's going on, and it's beyond just the hype curve right now. Yeah. Particularly in financials, we're seeing a huge adoption on trying to understand how to use this as a business tool.
Yeah, startups or enterprises who are already adopting blockchain has the potential to disrupt business with innovative models. Some are investing in startups, and big players are getting together to form consortiums to identify use cases that can, use blockchain. And big players like JP Morgan have come up with their own version of blockchain platforms. JP Morgan Quorum, I think, through in-house researchers.
So, if it's all ready to go and everybody's jumping in, should we be doing this right now? Is it ready? Can I just click a button and install it?
As with any new technology, there are early adopters and skeptics. Here in Salesforce, Dreamforce today, you will see many applications using blockchain behind the scenes. Blockchain as an architecture, yes, maybe it's ready for production, but you cannot just use any of the platforms right out of the box, because there are still some challenges around governance, scalability, and finality, etc. These are some things that we should solve through a good design and architecture. And this is one area where Object Frontier is helping its customers today.
I really encourage my customers to reach out to an SI who has an expertise both in Salesforce and in blockchain. One of the things that Object Frontier is offering their customers is the ability to help set up a center of excellence. I really encourage people to look at this. This technology is new, and there's some really valuable things that are relevant as you start building this model. This isn't just another database. This is needing some real business thought behind the implementation, and I encourage people to take that into account. Just as a point, I see a lot of people taking pictures of this slide. OFS has a booth, and they'll be able to take you through this in more detail. But we'll move on from this right now, and we'll talk a little bit about that trough of disillusionment. This is where Salesforce really comes into play. We've done this with AI. We've done this with lots of tools in the past. We make it easy. We democratize the capabilities of these new technologies. And Salesforce, being that engine for engagement with your customers, we're taking the blockchain capabilities and we're integrating it into Salesforce. You will hear several announcemements this week, and you will see many demos that have blockchain integrated into Sales Cloud, into Service Cloud, into Marketing Cloud, into all our healthcare and life sciences, into our individual industries. So we're really making Salesforce the ability to interact with the blockchain data as well as drive that communication into the smart contract.
Agreed. No, Salesforce is a great engagement layer. One important point to note is blockchain out of the box does not have an UX to interact with. You have to build what is called as dApps, the decentralized applications, and which interact with blockchain behind the scenes. So Salesforce, with its rich set of tools like platform events and process builder, makes it easy for anyone to build business use cases on blockchain. In fact, today we are going to look into one such dApp that was built through blockchain.
So we're ready for a demo. We're going to see what goes on. We're going to start cooking up here, like Professor and Jesse, maybe?
I would definitely like to cook today, Dan, but more with vegetables or blockchains. The segment that we picked up today is the financial services, a segment that needs trust between the players. And then more specifically, we are focusing on paper and process-intensive mortgage processing. We might have to do a bit of role-playing here, Dan. I'll play the broker. Can you be the applicant coming in to set up your mortgage request?
Wonderful. So obviously the mortgage application is a very complex one. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of proof of where I work, my employment history. We've got a huge number of things that have to go back and forth between me and my mortgage broker. So how do we get started? Do you need some DNA, maybe my firstborn child, to get this going?
We don't have to go that far. But before we fill in the application, that's what mortgage makes a very good use case for blockchain. It just means that there are so many players involved and they need a trust engine between them. So let's start with your profile here, Dan. Where do you have your profile recorded?
Wonderful. So I have a profile set up on the blockchain that we're using at Salesforce. So you can check it out, sfdc.co/bcx, blockchain experience. There will be demos set up. And my ID that I've got set up there is Dan. Obviously, I was one of the first ones. I got a really neat, easy ID. And I've already populated it with some information that you're going to be able to pull up. And it's a rather simple blockchain, but it has controls and visibility access and stuff like that. So when you pull up my data, what do you see?
So this is it. Is your information valid?
Yep, that looks like the information I wanted to share with you. And so where do we go from here?
Yeah, so this dApp pulled this Dan's information from the IBM Hyperledger behind the scenes. And the good thing about this is I just don't have to trust Dan for his employment details. This is all verified and signed by his employer, so I know it is already reliable. What's the loan amount, Dan?
Yeah, so I'm buying a $2.8 million home. It's been a good year, and it's right next to Mark Benioff down the street from Keith Block, Mr. Block himself.
Oh, that's one awesome neighborhood. So what I just did is I pushed this information out to an Ethereum blockchain behind the scenes through the Salesforce process builder.
So just let me get that straight. You pulled my profile from a Hyperledger blockchain running on IBM, and now you're pushing it to a completely different Ethereum-based blockchain? How easy was that?
Yeah, as I said, through the powerful tools of Salesforce platform like Process Builder, we are that's seamless. That makes it much more easier. So what's happening is this information is recorded as a smart contract in the Ethereum blockchain behind the scene. And once this information is recorded, we get the contract ID back. One moment. Let me just go ahead and create a new loan.
So you can see the loan ID there. Obviously, we're exposing actual IDs from the blockchain. They're very long and not necessarily human-friendly, human-readable. But what happens in behind the scenes is that we are putting that together into the link in the bottom so that Ganesh doesn't have to share that. He doesn't need to know that. Salesforce makes that transparent to be able to open it up.
Yeah, and the rationale of recording this in blockchain behind the scenes is we will have banks or brokers who are part of that blockchain network, and this information is instantly available for all of the players to pull and view that information. And that blockchain acts as a single source of truth for them.
Wonderful. So we're using some platform events here. We've also used Salesforce Connect. We've used some other environments as well to be able to do that integration in different ways. So as Ganesh pulls it up, he's going to switch into being the role of the banker. So he's going to become the banker for a minute and see what happens. We understand that the banking information that you're seeing here is distributed in a distributed app, a DApp, that is rather simplified. The bank would still be using their mainframe applications behind the scenes and pulling the data and doing a whole lot of complex transactions. But we're going to take that out of the scene here and just allow Ganesh to use a DApp to go through the loan approval process. What are you up to now?
So what you are seeing here is the bank decentralized application, which is pulling the information from the smart contracts and the blockchain behind the scenes. All the hexadecimal IDs that you see here are the contract address. Now, obviously, we're just showing this up for the demo. And remember, I told you this loan request is recorded as a smart contract, and so they expose smart functions, which enable banks to run their workflow just right through the application. So I'm going and setting in the interest rates, and I can go all the way to approving the credit.
So as Ganesh does that, remember what's happening in the background is that he's the banker, he's doing his homework and his paperwork, approving loans, maybe multiple banks. That data is now flowing into Salesforce. What's happening within Salesforce is that engagement layer. If I had my phone with me, I would have got the notification that I just got my interest rate approved. I would see that information. You might not push it directly out to the loan applicant like myself. You might have Salesforce business rules, engaging them through communities. All of that information is happening, and that's the engagement part of this, because we've reached out, we know it's valid, and now we can take real action. This simplifies the use case for the mortgage broker. And so there's a lot of value there.
And as a broker, I come back to the Salesforce view. I can see all of that information pushed out from the DApp all the way back to the Salesforce, the approval and all of that. So this makes it really, reduces all the paperwork and also brings in transparency and trust. And Dan, you don't have to just believe me for what I say. Since all of this information is recorded in blockchain, any third-party app that can read blockchain now can use this contract ID. Of course, with appropriate authorizations, they will be able to view all the transactions that happened around the loan, right? So this is where blockchain brings in transparency for the users. So in fact, I can drill down all the way deep into the individual transactions and the data that really went on.
So this is really important. I, as the applicant, can pick my third-party app. So I can see the data on the blockchain. This is a very simplified Explorer that we put together for Dreamforce. But now I don't just need to trust my broker. My broker might have my best interest at heart, but he had a lot of value between the broker and the bank. Now I can get involved into the blockchain and start to understand what's really helpful to me as the applicant. I can see each of the banks that might have given me information back, rather than just having to trust the broker. It's that verifiable trust that is really important inside of the blockchain. So we've taken what was a very intensive process and pulled that data from Hyperledger into Salesforce.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and that information is pushed out to the Ethereum blockchain behind the scenes. And we used a bank DApp which reads the Ethereum blockchain and takes the request through their workflow.
Click it.
And all of this is visible for any third-party apps which can read the blockchain from behind the scenes.
Wonderful. So we've got a lot of back and forth. We've really come up with a good use case where the data comes back into Salesforce, started in Hyperledger Ethereum. We've added trust to the whole process. We know it's a simplified use case that's mostly limited in time. We will be able to go through this in more detail, but what we want to now cover is where you can take it from here. So there is what I mentioned, the blockchain experience going on at Dreamforce. Check out sfdc.co/BCX, blockchain experience, upper lowercase. We've made it case insensitive. That will help you follow along and see where we have blockchain things going on at Dreamforce. We have a fair number of booths. You'll see some partner booths as well as Salesforce owned booths, both across industry, here in Lego City. Ganesh and I will be over near the Lego City, just over in that area, to answer questions afterwards. And there will be presentations listed on the BCX website as well. So I encourage you to check that out. We'll be updating it throughout the week. In addition to that, we just launched on Friday the first trailhead. We have a blockchain introduction trailhead. If you've been into blockchain, it's pretty straightforward. If you're just getting started, it's a pretty solid course. It's a combination between IBM and Salesforce, bringing those two companies together to create a trailhead that has a trailhead feel with the power and the knowledge that IBM brings to the blockchain. A couple of weeks ago, OFS did a webinar. I'd encourage you to check it out. It's a full hour going through what we did here in a little bit more detail. We have several partners on the App Exchange already, making things available, as well as some announcements at Dreamforce. We have our SI partners. Obviously, we were talking a lot about OFS here, but also companies like OpFocus have a very definite blockchain practice they've put up in place. And so, where can we take it from there, Ganesh?
Yeah, so we are making blockchain easy. We are building some components that you can go ahead and try your hands on. We are building a blockchain adapter for Salesforce, which connects your Salesforce app to any blockchain behind the scenes. This will soon be available in App Exchange. I have a private package. I can share that with you if you stop by our booth. We also have an Heroku blockchain add-on, which enables you to quickly spin up your own private Ethereum blockchain instance in Heroku. You can try that out. And we are also partners with IBM building blockchain templates for various use cases. Now, at the high level, this is the architecture for the blockchain, Salesforce blockchain adapter we are building. We can also talk through this in our booth. And last but not least, I have some of my team members here. We will be available at the booth for your questions and comments about the session. And if you want to see this demo again and more, please stop by our booth. And I also put together a detailed blog post which will walk you through how you can install your own private blockchain instance using the add-on, plus install and run this demo app so that you can try this for yourself. So that guide is also available on the link that's on the screen.
So just to be clear, start out with a Trailhead blockchain if you're just getting started. But if you want to build your own blockchain and you want to make it easy, check out makingblockchaineasy.com for the blog that Ganesh and his team have put together from OFS. That'll give you a hands-on exercise to run Ethereum blockchain on Heroku. It's really worth checking out, and stop by the booth. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Again, check out the blockchain experience. We know this is your first session of the day. Enjoy Dreamforce. Reach out to us on Twitter if you have questions. And don't forget to attend the developer keynote later this week. Thank you very much for making this the start of your Dreamforce. Have a wonderful couple of days. We'll be at Lego City in a minute.
Thank you. Thanks all. See you soon.